Hello, good evening, and welcome, or good afternoon, and welcome. Depends on obviously what time it currently is in wherever you're watching this from. If you're watching this in the United Kingdom, it is now midnight, so it's now Thursday, the 21st of November. If you're watching this on the eastern seaboard of the United States, it is around about 7 p.m., I believe. If you're watching this in on the west coast of America, it's around about 4 p.m. in the afternoon. I'm not sure how this is going to catch on, how this is going to take off, or whether this is worth even doing. But one thing that kind of occurred to me as a podcaster, as a Rangers podcaster, as a Rangers fan, is that no one really thinks of our American fans, our loyal American fans, when it comes to actually doing podcasts. All our podcasts are around about 7 in the evening here in the UK, or in 9:30 in the morning in the case of Rangers Review, or done in the afternoon, UK time. So no one really, sort of caters for our American fans. We've got a lot of American supporters. You've only got to look at the NASA events and how successful they are. You look on NASA and you see all the supporters associations all over the United States of America and Canada, and you just kind of, it's incredible. It's utterly incredible. Some of the followers that there are over there. I mean, I was having a quick flick through earlier, and you know, you've got Orange County. I've seen, for instance, there to Midtown Toronto. Just so many different organisations there. Over in the United States of America, and it's absolutely incredible. It really genuinely is, how many people are over there, and are huge Rangers fans, massive Rangers fans. So I just wanted to kind of do something for our American Bears, for the American Bears. We're going to try and grow this. We're going to try and get people on from the different supporters associations to tell us about what it's like following Rangers in Orange County, in LA, in New York, in Buffalo, in Green Bay, in Pittsburgh, wherever it is you're watching from, or whether wherever you are a Rangers fan, what it's like actually being a Rangers football fan over in the United States of America and Canada, where obviously, to them, football is that sport you kind of play with your hands. And look, I'm someone who gets, I get America, I'm a massive, huge Pittsburgh Penguins fan, massive Pittsburgh Steelers fan, big fan of big fan of the NBA as well, Chicago Bulls fan, big into the NFL, big into the NHL. But we didn't come here to discuss NFL. We didn't come here to discuss the NHL. We didn't come here to discuss MLB or NBA. We came here to talk all things Rangers. Right, where are we at this moment in time? Things are not great, are they? Let's not try and kind of, polish a turd. You can't polish a turd. It's just not possible. Rangers, realistically at this moment in time, it isn't looking particularly good in terms of where we're at as a club. We sit third, 9 points behind Celtic and, of course, Aberdeen. Yes, even Aberdeen as the league table kind of has it's kind of got a 1980s feel about it for me. You look at the table as it currently stands in Scotland, and it's really got that kind of 1980s touch to it, hasn't it? It really has. It's kind of incredible, really. It reminds me of way back in 86, 87, the early days. Certainly I started being a Rangers fan in 86, 87. And I mean, you look at the league. There we are. Let's bring the table up on screen, shall we? This is the table as it currently stands on this day. So Celtic obviously top on 31 points. Aberdeen second on 31 points. Rangers third on 22 points. Dundee United fourth on 19 points. Motherwell fifth on 19. Now, look, I mean, we've got Dundee United this weekend, and realistically, a defeat to Dundee United, and they could go above us, and we'd be down to fourth place. Utterly unacceptable for a club like Rangers. And you look at our form in the last five; it's loss, win, loss, win. It's horrible. You look above us, and both Celtic and Aberdeen are still undefeated. It's worrying times. Worrying times. In terms of what we've got coming up, it's going towards the December the 15th showdown with Celtic in the League Cup final So obviously this Saturday we take on Dundee United. Yeah, massive tie there. Then it's back in the Europa League action against Nice in the south of France before St Johnstone away again on the 1st of December. 4th of December, it's Killy. That's where we play next, Kilmarnock. And then it's Ross County away. You know, again, we lost last season. You know, I mean, that was pretty dreadful, wasn't it, that we lost last season? Then it's Tottenham in the Europa League before the 15th bin the game against Celtic. And you kind of look at that, you know, you look in the league. I mean, getting away from the Europa League ties, I think, you know, Nice and Tottenham are going to be two very tough games, you know, two very, very good teams in Nice and Tottenham. But, you know, you look at those league fixtures and in the build up to that Old Firm Cup final, and realistically, you know, we can't afford to drop any more points. There is no possibility there, no slack at all in those games. You know, Rangers Dundee, again, that's a game we've got to win at home. Yes, Dundee are doing well this season since they've been promoted from the Championship, but it's a game we've got to win. We've already beat them once this season. We've got to back that up. St Johnstone away. You know, again, St Johnstone, a pretty awful team. So, you know, I think for me, that's another game we've got to be winning. Rangers Killy. Again, Kilmarnock are going to come. You know, Derek McInnes will set his team up to play. He'll set his team up to make life difficult. It's another game we've got to win. It really is. Ross County away. Time for revenge. And then it's the cup final against Celtic. And look, I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm actually quite worried about that cup final. I really am. You know, it's a game that, you know, they are flying at the moment. They're playing some good football. Brendan Rodgers has got them playing well. And it's worrying times with how we're playing, with where we're up to as a team at this moment in time. Now, look, one thing I'm not prepared to do in terms of looking at this team, looking at this squad, you know, is completely write it off. You know, is this squad good enough? No, I don't think it is. I think there's a lot of weak areas in the squad. I think there's a lot of areas that need to be addressed. Of course I do. You know, I think we've got some players, you know, that are more than good enough. We've got some very talented players in this squad, yet we've got some players that do need to be moved on. We've got dead wood in the squad. Of course, we've got dead wood in the squad. But there are players here, you know, in Rangers that I do believe that have got the talent to take this team forward, the talent to compete with Celtic, the talent to compete with Aberdeen, the talent to move ourselves back up the table. You know, so I don't believe, you know, as some people say, that the whole team is genuinely dreadful or the players are rubbish. Yeah, there are some players that aren't great. You know, this season, James Tavernier, poor. Cyril Dessers, poor. Kieran Dowell, poor. Robin Propper, very poor. But there is talent in this time. There is ability in this team. There is quality in this team. Let's get this right. Let's get this straight. You know, there are some players that are more than capable of making a difference this season. For me, personally speaking, I mean, I look at, you know, some of the standouts, some of the players that, you know, make a difference. Bring up John Souttar first of all. I think John Souttar, you know, is a quality footballer, and I think, you know, certainly he's someone who's made a difference this season. He's, you know, the recent Scotland games he's played, he's arguably been man of the match in all of those games. He's been quality in all of those games, and I think for Rangers, he gets a lot of unfair stick. I really do. I think, personally speaking, he's a good defender. He's a very solid defender. I mean, if you look at what his attributes are and the way that he plays, he brings the ball out from the back very well. He helps to break the lines. And when you're coming up against a low block, you need someone to come out to engage the midfield, to try and pull some of the players out of that block. And Souttar is certainly someone who has the ability to do that. Tackles-wise, when he gets stuck in, you know, he puts his body on the line with blocks, and yes, he does make the odd mistake or two, but, you know, it's something I've said all along. If John Souttar didn't make those mistakes, would he be at Rangers still? I'm going to say no. He'd probably be playing in the EPL. So, look, John Souttar, for me, is, you know, a player who is more than capable of making a big, big difference this season. You know, who's the best person to play alongside him? I mean, we can debate that all we want. I mean, I think, you know, Big Cass has got a role to play. But, you know, my personal favourite, you know, someone who I think that, again, makes a difference when he plays because of his leadership qualities, because of his communication qualities. And he's probably one of the best defenders and quickest defenders we've got currently, and that's Leon Balogun. I mean, I'm an unashamed Leon Balogun fan. Massive, massive Leon Balogun fan. And, you know, Big Leon's contract goes out, you know, at the end of this season. And then you've got a massive decision to make. At 36 years old, do you give him any more years at Rangers? But Big Leon, if you look at when he talks to the media, he's a Rangers man through and through. He understands what it is to play for this club. He understands the frustration of the fans. He's a top lad, a top guy. I love Big Leon. I think Big Leon's quality. But you look at the midfield, and for me, two of the standouts in that midfield, Nicholas Raskin and Connor Barron. Two Rottweilers, two absolute pit bulls, two absolute terriers that love to get stuck in, that love to fight and battle and scrap. And sometimes you look at them and they'll do the nasty. They'll do the horrible thing. They'll do the kick it. They'll do the, get stuck into someone, give someone an elbow, give someone a shove. I think, one of the things that's two of the things that have kind of been missing from Rangers midfield, and particularly against them, has been the legs and the aggression. And I think we've all often, haven't we, been accused of in those Old Firm games, have been out-muscled by them, out-fought by them, outpaced by them. Certainly there's been issues there. Now, for me, Barron and Raskin bring a lot of those qualities to this team. They really do. They're aggressive. They're strong. They're not afraid to get stuck in. They're like a pair of little pit bulls. They really are. And I think one thing, Philippe Clement has had an awful lot of criticism this season, and, rightly so. There's a lot of things that he's done this season, a lot of the ways he's set his team up, a lot of the tactics he's used, or the lack of shape that he's used, that's put us in a position where we have not played well, and we've looked turgid, we've looked boring, we've looked dreadful. However, I think one of the things that he has got right, for me, is the formation of that partnership between Raskin and Barron. I really like the way that Raskin and Barron play together. I like the quality they bring to this team. They're forming a useful partnership. Now, one of the things for me that Raskin and Barron do is, with Raskin and Barron, you've got Barron taking kind of the more of the 8 role these days, being more advanced, getting forward, going a bit box to box. And then you've got Raskin kind of being the conductor, the ball player, the guy who sits at the base of the midfield. Yeah. JM, welcome JM. Where are you watching from, buddy? Let me know where you are watching from. Thank fuck these Jers are back at the weekend. Absolutely, buddy. Sid in Toronto. Welcome, Sid. Welcome. I know you're one somebody who does tune in to the normal podcast, but like I said, Sid, I'm going to try and do one a week, where I'm going to try and do it at a time that's good for the Americans, for you Canadians and you Americans, you guys living over there in the United States of America. Doing it this time, it's your evening. I think you guys obviously, are loyal, really are loyal. You're in sunny Glasgow, bro. Well, there we go, mate. I doubt very much it's sunny there at this moment in time. But, getting back to Raskin and Barron, I think, Raskin and Barron have really got elements there of strength, of fight, of character. They've got the ability to really get stuck into Celtic, to really put it about them. And I think one of the things that we've been lacking in Old Firm games is the ability to get stuck into Hatate, is the ability to get stuck into McGregor, is the ability to get stuck into Bernardo, whoever's playing in that midfield. And I think Barron and Raskin obviously bring that. And look, Nicholas Raskin's come in for an awful lot of criticism these last few weeks, hasn't he? He really, Raskin's coming for criticism prior to him coming back, shall I say. So for me, Raskin is, really starting to prove that he's getting back to where he was. He's got to get back to where he has been previously. And he's getting back there. He looks good again. And I think, one of the things in the modern game that is needed in the modern game, and I think one of the things that we kind of look at and, is the role of the 6. In the past, it was all about the striker scoring goals, or the winger beating his man, or the number 10 being the inspiration on the pitch. So it is very much the case that now that number 6, as we've seen with obviously Rodri winning the Ballon d'Or, the number 6 is becoming kind of like the go-to player, hasn't he? He's kind of become the ball player, the conductor, the quarterback, the guy who directs the whole operation, doesn't he? And for me, Nicholas Raskin, yes, he is producing JM some of that consistency now, and he is playing some good football. And he's doing what we want him to do, in terms of he sits at the base of the midfield, he breaks up attacks, he uses the ball well, he distributes the ball, he gets stuck in, he brings the recovery well, he gets the attack started. He's doing what we want from a six. Now, is he the complete six? Well, probably not. I think, he's still got room to develop there and room to get better. I wouldn't rule out, going to get another six, but I don't think at this point in time it's a top priority. I think there's other priorities in this team. I really do. I think we lack a winger, we lack a striker, we lack the centre back. There are positions of need still in this team, and a six certainly is a position of need. And I think we do still need one, but I don't think it's a top priority because of the form of Nicholas Raskin, how he's doing. Sid says, get Bayrami in for Lawrence, Barron, Dio, Raskin will do better. Sid, that's obviously presuming that we're going to continue with a 4-2-3-1, which I think we will under Clement. Definitely we will. But I've said on the podcast earlier, the one I did in the UK, which is more UK based, was that I'd like to see us go 4-3-3. I'd like to see us go with a 4-3-3. And go something like this. If everybody's fit, I like to see us go something like this with Butland in goal, Sterling, Suter, Balogun, Hjefte, a midfield three of Barron, Bayrami and Raskin, and an attacking three of Tierney, Danilo and Cortez. Now, I would go with that certainly, in the games against St Johnstone, Killy, Hibs, Hearts, those teams. What I might do, for instance, in the game against Celtic is perhaps go with Barron, Dio and Raskin and put Bayrami onto the left for Cortez, and go that way because of the because of the fact that it just provides a bit more solidity there. But against these poorer teams in Scotland, we don't need to go defensive. We don't need to have three midfielders who whose premonition is not really to go past the player or to attack. It's to to hold, to kind of run that midfield as 2 8s and a 6. We need a bit more dynamism in there against the St Johnstones, the Hibs, the Killies of this world. So that that's the situation for me. Sid says Lawrence is a car horse. He is a car horse. He is not the best. He's kind of past it. Agreed, good team. Thank you, Sid. JM says, and Tav's going to start. That's the concern, isn't it? That is the real worry for me, that Philippe Clement seems to have a massive, massive blind spot when it comes to James Tavernier. He really does. James Tavernier is one of the worst players in Scotland right now. His form is absolutely dreadful. Absolutely dreadful. He starts every week. No matter how bad he plays, he gets picked. And I don't get it. I don't understand it, JM. Sid says, Bayrami's goal with the sheep proves he should be in the middle. Yeah, I'd love to see him in the middle. I think, square pegs in round holes is not going to help us improve. It really isn't. Casanwejo went off injured for the under-21s. He's like, don't know how serious it is. Yeah, that's the situation. We don't know. It's been assessed by the Rangers medical team. I'm sure when Philippe Clement speaks to the media, we'll find out how serious that injury is. Now, I don't know if any of you have seen the footage. It doesn't look great. It really doesn't look great at all, seeing big Cass go down like that. So, there we go. 13 watching at the moment, guys. Please smash that sub, smash the like. Obviously, if you're watching somewhere in the United States or in Canada, let me know where you're watching from tonight. But like I said, we are going to try and do this. Was he carried off? I don't think he was carried off. It did look bad. Yes, it did look very bad indeed. I think he limped off. I don't think he was carried off. But I haven't seen the game. I didn't watch the game. I don't watch a lot of international football, Sid. So, mate, I don't really know. But look, I don't subscribe to the view wholeheartedly that this team is absolutely hopeless. I think there are players in this team who are good. I think there are players capable of forming a very good starting 11 if they're used correctly. But it all comes down to the manager. It comes down to how the manager is going to use the players, how the manager is going to motivate the players, how the manager is going to organise the players. Now, I do think that whilst some players have not played well enough, some players have let the manager down and have let their teammates down, I think a lot of the blame does have to lie with Philippe Clement, because, he is not implementing a style that works in Scotland. He is not playing a brand of football that works in Scotland. I think there's a lot of issues when it comes to us playing domestically. We use the ball too slowly. We're too passive with passing. We're not aggressive enough in trying to break down the block. We don't seem to have someone to unlock the door when it comes to the block. And I think part of that problem is the way we're playing players in wrong positions. If we had two out and out wingers and Bayrami in the 10 and a striker you could actually rely on to put the ball in the back of the net on a regular basis, I don't think you'd have as many problems breaking down that big solid block that they put in place. I really don't. Sid in the live chat says, if Clement starts Sterling for Tav, Danilo for Dessers, we will be fine. I agree, Sid. They're the changes I would make. I think I love Dujon Sterling. I think he's a top player. He's everything that Tavernier isn't. He tracks back. He's quick. He's aggressive. He's good in the tackle. He's good going forward now because he's obviously played as a winger quite a bit. So look, Cortez, I think he's still a few weeks away, mate. He's still a good few weeks away. So he ain't gonna be ready for the cup final. Nowhere near. So I think he's going to be sort of around Christmas time, Sid, if I'm being honest with you. I mean, I'm just kind of looking at what I've read for that. But again, we'll find out more in the press conference on Friday. But look, I'm not prepared to write all these players off yet. I mean, I think there is a number of players in this squad that are more than capable of doing it for Rangers. And I think a lot of it is about picking the right players and putting the right players in the right position. And I think, again, if you pick the right players, if you put the right players in the right position, then you're going to make a difference. And I think, for me, one of Clement's weaknesses is he plays too many players out of position. He doesn't play players in form. He doesn't play players into their right in their right way. He doesn't use them in the right way. As we saw with Todd Cantwell. Todd Cantwell has gone to Blackburn. He's doing really well for Blackburn. Why? Because his manager's using him in the right way. He's using him as a 10. I think Clement is kind of failing a little bit because of that. JM says Clement is too stubborn and it will cost him his job. Yeah, he is very stubborn. And the Monaco fans told us that. They told us he was intransigent. He didn't want to change. He doesn't like change. I personally believe, if we're going to really improve and we're really going to kick on now, we need to see a flexibility of formation, a flexibility of shape, a flexibility in the way we play. You've got to be willing to change. If something isn't working, if plan A isn't working, you've got to have a plan B, a plan C. You've got to have ways of trying to change things, change formation, change shape. For me, plan B is not just putting players on in the same formation and just hoping that they'll do something different. Rangers at the moment are too much a moments team. They're too much of a moments team. And what do I mean by that? I mean, they're too reliant on someone doing something amazing or someone doing something brilliant like Bayrami's done to get them back into the game or to win a game. And we've got to get away from that. We've got to play more as a team. We've got to play more aggressive. We've got to play quicker. Now, people say, why can we do it in Europe, but we can't do it in Scotland? Because if you look at the difference, what's the big difference between Scottish football and European football? We go and we play in Europe and we have two teams on the field that actually want to play football. Two teams that want to have a go at each other. Two teams that want to give each other a game of football. In Scotland, the problem is, for Rangers, that every team we play, we are their cup final. And every team we play, with the exception of perhaps Celtic and Aberdeen, come to kick the crap out of us, to slow the game down, to put a low block on, to spoil, to foul, to take as long as possible over free kicks and throw-ins and corners, to waste time, to frustrate. That's what they do. And we've got to overcome that. And like I said, the ways to overcome that are use the ball quicker. No, don't be as passive in your passing. Don't be as sideways in your passing. Don't be as backwards in your passing. Be more assertive. Use players in their right positions. Get, Bayrami in and around the box. Get Hadji in and around the box. And I want to talk about Yanis Hadji in this pod. Use the wingers. Obviously, we've suffered to some degree, with the left wingers, with both Matondo and Cortez been out injured long term. That's a big miss. Of course it is, not having either of you two left wingers. We've tried McCausland out there. It doesn't really work. But, once Cortez is back, it gives us an opportunity to really try and see some balance there. Put Bayrami in the 10, Cheney right, Cortez left. See how it goes. See what we can do. And we may then be able to, break down these blocks more effectively than we've been able to do in recent weeks. But it is that way of playing against some of these Scottish teams where Clement in his stubbornness and in his complete inability to change is costing him dearly. And we need to start to see that ability to change. Now, one of the players for me that we need to start to see, I honestly believe, is Yanis Hadji. Now, obviously, Hadji, was obviously out of the squad, was out of reckoning because of whatever reason. But Hadji, for me, is a talent. He's a talent. I mean, he's come off the back of 2 good performances for Romania. Yes, one of them he came on as a sub and then the game was abandoned, but he still played well in the time that he was on the field. In this game, this recent game they've just played, he played exceptionally well. So I want to see some more Yanis Hadji. I want to see him on the park. Now, look, again, this is designed to try and help in Scotland, to make us more effective, to make us more fluid, to make us more attacking. And that is to get, a player, again, like Hadji, who can use the ball to unlock defences, who can play the killer pass, who can take the shot, who can bring the best out of others. Now, when Hadji came on in that limited performance he had against St Johnstone, it was his pass that creates the goal for Bayrami. It's his clever, quick use of the ball. And that's one of the things you need to do. Against a low block, you need to use the ball quickly, because the longer you take to move the ball, the longer you take to keep possession and then move up the pitch, you give them time to reset, to reform, to make it virtually a brick wall to get through. And we do that way too often. So for me, Yanis Hadji is a player who I need to see more of. I really do want to see more of this lad on the park, and with a chance to prove himself. Hadji's a good footballer. Now, look, if it is that he's been told to leave or he's been told he can leave, we're kind of shooting ourselves in the foot a little bit if we're not playing him, because if we don't play him, then teams are going to say, well, look, Rangers don't want him, we can get him for cheap, and they're going to come in and lowball us, and then we're going to turn that down, and we're going to keep turning that down, saying it's not the market value, it's not the market value, it's not the market value, and then he's going to end up walking for nothing. So, look, there is an issue there. JM says, I've got a feeling that Clement doesn't rate Hadji, to be honest. Me too, mate. I've got a real feeling that he does not rate Hadji, and he's got a problem with Hadji. I don't know what the problem is and why he has a problem with Hadji. I don't get it. Given the fact that Yanis Hadji is by far a better player than a lot of the players we've got in this squad. I mean, the poll that we're currently running here on the channel says, does Yanis Hadji deserve more game time? Well, 81% of you say yes and 19% of you say no. So, yeah, positive there. Positive. Look, I'll be honest with you. Yeah, I'm agreeing with you, JM. I think he doesn't like him. I don't think he doesn't fancy him. I think he doesn't rate him. But, Clement's got to start to realise that if he wants to get the best out of this, if he wants to survive, if he wants to be able to play, to stay as manager, he needs to start using his full squad. He needs to start using some of his best players. Hadji is one of the better players in this squad, and we need to start to see him. Look, I'll be honest with you, Hadji is someone who can make a difference, whether that's off the bench or starting. He's someone who can provide an impact. He's a good player, a quality player. And like I said, I'm not prepared as yet to write off all of this squad and say they're all awful. I think there is still elements of improvement there. Of course I do. I think there is still positions we need to pick up, but I do think there are some good players in this squad that if they're used correctly, if they're motivated correctly, if they played correctly, can make a huge difference for this team. I think a lot of the blame, like I say, lies at the foot of the manager and the way he motivates them and the tactics he's using in Scotland. Like I said, what he does in Europe works quite clearly because we've got two teams that want to play football. His style in Scotland isn't working and he needs to adapt and change. And, like JM says, his stubbornness could cost him his job. If he doesn't adapt, he'll die. It's adapt or die, isn't it? You don't adapt, you become extinct, you become useless, and you end up getting kicked out. So, for me, Clement's got to start to show a little bit of change in Scotland, a little bit of, invention and a little bit of ingenuity to try and overcome some of these issues that we are facing. And I agree, JM, 4-2-3-1 is the problem. I mean, I'd like to see us try a 4-3-3 or a 4-4-2 or a, something different. Just something different. 4-1-4-1. Just try something different. Clement said at the start of his reign as manager that he wasn't afraid to change formations. That he didn't have a preferred formation, which we now know is a load of rubbish. But he does contradict himself an awful lot. And that comment the other day that he made about players will get too confused. Well, how? I don't get it. Well, guys, look, we've got Dundee United this weekend coming up. We'll obviously, on the channel, be bringing you a build-up to that. We'll be bringing you more videos, more content here on the channel. This is my first podcast, obviously, aimed at the North American Bears. So hopefully... I don't know, JM. I genuinely don't know. His stubbornness, his inability to listen, I don't know what it is. Well, I'm going to call that a night because it's midnight here and I've got to get up at 6 in the morning. So thank you for watching this first podcast aimed at our North American Bears. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. If you've enjoyed it, please give me a like. Obviously subscribe. Thank you to JM and Sid who've kept the live chat going. Hopefully we'll get some more people in the live chat as these podcasts take off. Like I said, I'm going to try and do it once a week for you. Thanks for watching. We're back to speak to you very soon here on the channel. And remember always, please never forget, we are the people.